Hello everyone, good morning. It's Lisa from Crafting and Cruising. Come on in. I kind of sent my telegram out a little early and made my post a little early because I've been communicating with my sweet friend Liz about some things to see down here in Charleston, so sorry about that. But I'm here now in a hotel in Charleston, South Carolina. Another southern place for the Southern Belles. So let me know you're here. Say hello. Send up some emojis so I'll know you're here. Hey, Sandy Stanley. I don't have my ring light. I don't have a stand. I've just got a little stand on the back of my phone. So we're going to go with it. So what's the weather like in Virginia, sister? Y'all still have snow? This hair is driving me cray. It's pretty cold in Charleston, especially for Charleston. I don't actually know what the temperature is, and I can't check on my phone, but it was pretty cool last night. And I think in Myrtle Beach, they actually got some ice and maybe a little bit of snow, I'm not sure. So, yeah. The snow had almost melted when we left home to come here. The roads were fine. The roads had been fine actually for 2 days. So, but a lot of people didn't know that, so a lot of people still weren't getting out. So we even commented at the airport. Rodney and I both said, "Gosh, this natural airport is like empty compared to what it usually is." We were very surprised because sometimes you have to wait in line for a long time. Fortunately, we have TSA pre, but so do so many other people, so sometimes it's really hard, you know, for that to benefit you, but because sometimes you can really wait in line a long time. Rodney still has to go through like the special, he has TSA pre, but they have to take him to the side to scan him because of his artificial knee. So, yeah. So, anywho, I am just sitting here while he's working, and thought I would go live with you guys for a few minutes, do a brief devotional, and tell you kind of how it spoke to me this morning when I was downstairs having breakfast, and then kind of catch you up on the last few days, which has been in some ways a nightmare. And then I'm going to talk to y'all about this journal that I'm making in Debbie Riggs' private group. And I haven't started doing anything yet, but I'm going to start tonight, I hope, and I want to get y'all's feedback. I brought some things to show you, and just talk to you. Hold on, you know what, I forgot. Hey, Diane, I forgot one thing. Let me get it out of my suitcase because I want y'all to see that for sure. If I can find it. I know I brought it. I think I wedged it between some of my clothes. Yep, I did, so it wouldn't get wet. Yay, it stayed good. Okay. Here we are. So, let's see. First of all, I'm going to start with a little bit of a devo because it spoke to me so strongly this morning. So, hey, Deborah Jed, so y'all just bear with me. Remember when if you didn't see my live not long ago, I said this year I'm going to do just as much lifestyle, because I said this is a lifestyle and crafting page, as I am crafting, and I'm going to be on less of a schedule, okay? I want it to happen when, sorry y'all if you can see these little notifications coming in. I want it to happen when it's supposed to happen, when people will be blessed, and when I'll be refreshed and ready to go. So I'm going to put less emphasis on algorithms and things like that, and just try to do more, maybe some more in-depth crafts, and take y'all on that journey with me. So before we start, let me read. If y'all don't have this book, and I can't, oh, can I turn my screen? Let me see. I don't think I can. Last night I looked at it and it said I could, but maybe I have to do it first. Does anybody know? No, that's just going to turn the whole camera. I don't think I can do it now. Anyway, this is Jesus Calling by Sarah Young. Love it. Been reading it for years. I actually heard the other day that she wrote this book not to be a devotional book. She wrote it out of her own time with God, and it was kind of like her journal. So these are like excerpts from her journal where she was spending time with God, and then when she would feel like God would speak to her or say something to her in her, within herself that she needed to remember, she wrote it down. So it's a precious book, and I love it. But it's coming from the perspective of Jesus being the one talking. So today's says, "Let me bless you with my grace and peace. Open your heart and mind to receive all that I have for you. Do not be ashamed of your emptiness. Instead," this is so good, "view it as the optimal condition for being filled with my peace." We need peace in the world, and it starts with peace within ourselves. "It is easy to touch up your outward appearance," hey Cindy, "to look as if you have it all together. Your attempts to look good can fool most people. But I see straight through you into the depths of your being. There is no place for pretense in your relationship with me. Rejoice in the relief," I love this, "of being fully understood. Talk with me about your struggles and feelings of inadequacy. Little by little, I will transform your weaknesses into strengths. Remember that your relationship with me is saturated in grace. Therefore, nothing that you do or don't do can separate you from my presence." And then there's a couple of scriptures listed here. 1 Samuel 16:7 and Romans 8:38 to 39. So I have those written in my journal. So in my little journal that I'm writing in, my leather journal that I got from in Africa, I'm just going to read you some of what I wrote, if I can find it. Oh, this is the wrong journal. Sorry. This journal that I got when I was in, hey, Sister Louise, I'm good. When I was in Chagrin Falls, seeing Kathy D. Okay, so here we go. Got it. And I'm reading you this only because there are days when I do a devotional or a Bible study and I feel like I really get it, and I'm like, oh wow, that's so cool. And then there's other times that I'm like, I'm not really sure how that applies to me, or it doesn't feel like it really speaks to me or something. So today I was downstairs in the hotel having breakfast, and man, I could not journal enough. It was like God just kept showing me stuff. So I said, Jesus Calling was on point today for sure. And where she said, "Do not be ashamed of your emptiness. Instead, view it as the optimal condition for being filled with my peace." And so then I just wrote a prayer telling Jesus that I need that peace that can only come from him, not man-made. I mean, that's good when we have peace in the world or a situation gets resolved and we have peace. But the peace that talks about in Philippians, that can only come from God. I want peace to emanate from every fiber of my being where anyone around me senses it. Then, in Jesus Calling, she wrote, "But I see straight through you into the depths of your being. There's no place for pretense in your relationship with me. Rejoice in the relief of being fully understood." So there's a scripture that says that God knows our thoughts before we think them, and he knows our words before we speak them. Now stop and think about it a minute. If you're married and you're happily married, your spouse knows you and knows a lot about you. Your family of origin knows a lot about you. But there is no person on the face of the earth, albeit yourself, that knows everything about you. Hey Karen, welcome, welcome. But God knows every detail of your being. I said, your word says you know my thoughts before I think them, my words before I speak them. There's no hiding from you. Yet, in your full knowledge of me, you love and accept me just as I am, masks and all. Have any of you ever worn masks? And I'm not talking about like for Halloween or Mardi Gras or whatever. I'm talking about the mask of, oh, I'm doing well, how are you, when inside you are torn up. Or, you know, I'm really a good girl and I really have a pure heart, when you're living a life of hell behind everybody's back and they know it. I, for years and years and years, wore so many masks. When I was around my parents' friends, I would kind of not act different, but I didn't want them to know the real me. When I was around boyfriends or good friends, I wanted them to like me, so I wore the mask of, oh, I've got it all together, everything is great, blah, blah, blah. When I was in church, and I was in church every time the doors opened for many, many years, you know, I certainly didn't want them to know anything about the skeletons in my closet, so to speak. So, you know, I would put up this mask, and you know what? That gets very tiring. Like, you have to put this mask on for this person and this mask on for that group. And it gets so tiring that soon you kind of lose sight of who you really are. And there were times I was asking myself, like, who am I? My mother would even say she could tell when I had been in the presence of certain friends, because she said my voice would kind of reflect it, or things that I said would reflect it. Thank you for the thumbs up. And so, those masks are so, what's the word I'm looking for? They lock us in. They make us feel, I can't think of the expression I'm trying to use, but we become slaves to those masks. So, I said, and Sarah says, little by little, I'll transform your weaknesses into strengths. Hey, Shelly, this is God talking. Remember that your relationship with me is saturated in grace. Here's an acronym for you may want to write down. GRACE. GRACE. God's riches at Christ's expense. God's riches. His grace is his riches, God's riches at Christ's expense. Therefore, nothing you do or don't do can separate you from my presence. Now, that is both humbling and it's a bit scary. Not really in a fearful way, but rather more in a revering way. There's no thing you don't know about me, but you love me anyway. You know that song, but you love me anyway. Well, that's how God is. How can that be? Hey, Cheryl. It's because God is God, and we will never fully understand his ways. But we surely can strive to, and that can begin by enveloping ourselves in his peace and letting that flow from us. We will never, this side of heaven, for Christ followers, we will never fully understand the mind of God. He's God, we're not. But we can strive to. We can try to understand. How? By being in his word and by praying. Hanging around with people who are believers and discussing things with them. And one of the scriptures she said was 1 Samuel 16:7, and it says, "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For God sees not as a man sees, for man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Now, women, you're on here. Let me get a sip of coffee. I'm going to ask you a question. And this is not true for everybody, I realize. But for most of us women, do we not care about our outward appearance? Whether it's we're trying to attract a man, hopefully not if you're married, or don't we do that under pressure from other women? We compare ourselves to other women all the time. Maybe not intentionally, maybe not even consciously, but we do. So we usually, the majority of us, focus a lot on our outward appearance. I put on makeup today. I feel better when I have makeup on and I come live. But y'all know a lot of times I come live with no makeup, with my hair dirty, with it thrown up in a bun or whatever, in my sweatshirt, sweatpants and t-shirt. We focus a lot on outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. And that's kind of the humbling part. Our self-imposed mask may fool some people and may imply peace and joy falsely when inside we are just the opposite. But God, my two favorite words, the one who created each of us and knew us since before the foundation of the world, knows us fully and more intimately than anyone on earth. Y'all, even your spouse does not know you in the way God does. That's amazing, humbling, kind of scary in a revering way. And then she used the scripture Romans 8:38-39. For I am convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus. Hey, Sandra. We may choose to separate ourselves from God, and there's consequences for that. But God, there's my favorite two words again, will never choose to separate himself from us. There is no place you can go to escape his presence. He's there when you sleep. He's there when you're awake. He's there when you're in town, out of town, at home, in a restaurant. He's there all the time. We cannot escape his presence, which is, again, very humbling. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Remember, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. This is me talking now. I am never more fully known, nor more completely loved, nor more unconditionally accepted than I am in the Lord. I in him and he in me, fully transparent and perfectly loved as I am. Not so I can remain there, but as a catalyst to always be striving, as Philippians 3:14 says, toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Estelle. Y'all, it was just powerful for me today. I mean, I just felt like everything I wrote, I just felt like in my spirit, God was saying, yeah, and I'm showing you this, and yeah, I'm showing you that, and it was amazing, and I loved it. And so when that happens, I'm more committed this year than ever to making sure that I journal it. I always have good intentions of journaling, and I say, oh, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to, so when I'm gone and my kids find my journals or whatever, if they choose to read them, they'll know what was happening in life or how God was speaking to me or whatever. And, I start it and then I stop it because truth is I don't love writing all the time, but I'm determined. So let me tell y'all what happened to us this week. My bad. So y'all know, most of y'all know that I did ministry in Africa for several years and hope to go back sometime in the not too distant future. My children went to a private Christian school in Nashville, and two other ladies whose children went to that school, hey Denise, started a ministry years ago called 147 Million Orphans. Y'all may have seen people in t-shirts with that logo on it. You may have just seen things on Facebook. But initially, I think their primary place was Africa and some other places, that with high rates of orphans, but a lot in Africa. And then eventually those two ministries kind of divided. So one of the women continued with 147 Million Orphans, and the other one started a ministry called Love One. Beautiful ministry. And they still focus primarily in Uganda, which is, my heart for sure. Bracelet will not stay closed. So my husband has always loved big equipment. His father was a crane operator for years. Hey, Jana, and my daughter's name is Jana, and spells it just like you. and worked on the pipeline for years and years. So Rodney moved a lot when he was younger, depending on where they were working on the pipeline. And Rodney grew up on a farm, so of course he drove tractors and trucks and balers and all this kind of stuff. So he's all the time, hey Jackie, he's all the time saying, I wish I could get a backhoe, or I wish I could get a bobcat, because we have a lot of acreage around us, and he would love to just ride that thing around and dig up dead trees and things like that. So anyway, the other night I was on Facebook, and I saw that one of these women had said something about their father being put in a nursing home, and they were going to sell his farm and get rid of a lot of farm equipment. And there were tons of pictures of trucks and tractors, and there was a bobcat, and I don't think it was a bobcat. He called it something else. I don't know what it was. Anyway, it was like a bobcat. And so, but they had written that they were out of town and would be back on January the, 20th or something like that. So if you were interested in anything, only serious people, and they would take like a deposit on whatever you were interested in, and then you could come and view that when they got back in town to see if it was something you really wanted, and if not, they would give your deposit back. So as long as Rodney's been wanting something like that, I thought this is it. Now it wasn't cheap, but it certainly wasn't like you would pay if you went into a dealership and bought a bobcat, even a used one. And so I told him about it, and he looked up that model and read about it, and he goes, well, it's a pretty good price. So I DM'd her, hey Barbara, and just reminded her of who I was, that our kids went to this school together, and that I'd done ministry with another organization in Uganda, and I know she knows who I am. We're just not like good friends or anything. And so, I told her that we were interested in this bobcat, and so I said, what do I need to do? And so she said, well, if you could maybe put down like $1,000 on it. And I said, okay, how do I need to get that to you? And she said, do you have Apple Pay? And I said, no. And she said, okay. I said I could do Zelle or PayPal. I don't think I can offer Venmo. And so she said, okay, well, let's do Zelle. So I got on my main bank account and tried to Zelle that much money, and they wouldn't let me without calling to give more information. And this was like on Saturday night at 9 o'clock or whatever. So I knew I wouldn't get anybody. And so I told her in the DM, I said, they have to have more information. That's going to be Monday. And so she said, well, sometimes on big transactions like that, if they're not used to you doing that, you have to do it like in 2 transactions. So maybe you could just do like 500, and then maybe we could do like 500 on PayPal. So I went over to another account we have at another bank, and did the 500 from Zelle. Hey, Carol Ann, and it went through. And so, but then I had to, from the first bank, I had to transfer $500 for the other part of the deposit into my PayPal account. Hey, Brittany, to cover that 500 because my PayPal account didn't have any money just sitting there. So anyway, hey, Tanya, so I got all that done and sent, and then I said something about where and when can we look at this piece of equipment? We're going to be out of town for a little bit, and so where and when can we look at it? Well, she answered back with the address of her ministry office. And so I looked that up, and that's like an office building, like a big, her office is in there. I don't think she has the whole building. And so Rodney started getting a little suspicious. And so he goes, Lisa, I'm not sure about this. And I said, well, she gave me the address of the office building. And he goes, yeah, but they're not going to have big equipment in the office building. And I said, well, maybe out back in the yard, blah, 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 blah. And so I said, since we're getting ready to leave town, can we come look at it tomorrow? No response. So then I started getting suspicious myself, and I said, so who is your former ministry partner? Radio silence. I asked a couple of other questions. Radio silence. You guessed it. We got scammed. $1,000. So we immediately called the bank and said, and we got a live person and said, this is what happened. Is there any recourse? And she said, I can't do anything with the Zelle transaction because it's usually instant. The only thing you can do is go into your bank Monday morning and talk to them about it and see if there's anything they can do. Then I filed a complaint with PayPal for fraud. And probably within 30 minutes, I got an email back saying they had looked it over and it looked like a legitimate transaction, so the case was closed. If I wanted to file further information, I could go to this link and file further information, which I did. I filled it with information and screenshots and things like that. Haven't heard back from that yet. So Rodney went to the bank yesterday morning before we left to come out of town, and they said there's nothing they can do, that Zelle is immediate. And she said that she had a client in there a couple of weeks ago that had done some kind of transaction. I don't know if it was Zelle or not, and I think she indicated that this guy had to like provide a lot of banking info to whoever he was dealing with, which we didn't have to do. I think Rodney said $29,000, and there's nothing they can do. And it was like all the money that guy had. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. Yes, it's a lot of money. $1,000 gone is not going to kill us. But the fact that somebody used somebody's account that I know who does ministry for orphans, at least in Africa and probably some other places too, has a heart for people, a heart for ministry. The fact that somebody would go into her account and do that. Now, when we went back and read the ad more clearly later, some of the wording was a little bit weird. Like she said, father is in, a nursing home, where most people wouldn't say father. They would say my father or my dad. Hey, Renee. Hey, Sharon. So in retrospect, we should have been more, I should have been more diligent to read it better. Hey, Kelly. Hard lesson learned. So I'm having to make myself pray for those people. Like, I want to pray, Lord, they must have needed the money more than I did, so bless them with it. But y'all, hey, Patricia, these people are probably not even in this country. They're probably in some foreign country somewhere, and they just prey on people and do this. The bankers, Rodney, it happens all the time. And I'm usually pretty perceptive about stuff like that. People tried to scam me before, and I picked it up on just like that. I'm like, nope, no way. I missed it this time. But probably what's even more disheartening to me is that I was so excited that Rodney was going to get something that he's been wanting for a long time, like a new toy. And, hey, Melissa, not going to happen. And we're not going to get our money back. So be careful. Learn from my mistake. Read every word and try to contact maybe that person. This is somebody that, we're not good friends, but we know each other. So again, it wasn't just some random person posting it on Facebook. I probably would have been a little more careful, but I thought it was really her. So I contacted the ministry office and left them a voicemail. And I just said, you need to let her know that somebody has gone on her page, and, no telling how many other people might have bid on stuff. And then Rodney was talking to his brother, and before he could even tell him the details, hey, Roxanne, his brother goes, let me guess. They have trucks, they have farm equipment, they have blah, 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 blah. And Rodney was going, yep. He goes, yep, I know. That scam has been around for a couple of weeks. He's part of a beekeepers association or whatever, and he said they told him at the last beekeeper association meeting that these people were, preying on others. So, hey, Vicki. So, yeah, isn't that sad? It's so unnecessary. So, that was not fun. Now, my journal, we're going to get right into that. I don't have any glue with me, so I'm not going to be able to do a lot on it. But, hey, Debbie Henry, So again, if you haven't seen the journal, this was from Hobby Lobby. Well, actually mine was from Michael's, but they have the same one at Hobby Lobby. When you open it up, it's got a pocket in here that you can put stuff in. Now, I'm doing this journal like along with people in Debbie Rigg Lonsdale's private group, Check Savvy Live, which if you're not a member, you should be, because it's a fabulous sisterhood. So we're going to be working on it all through the year. And you know what? I took the paper off, and I don't even know. It's by Ranger. I don't even know how many pages it has. But anyway, we're going to be doing some Zentangle. Let me show you what the Zentangle is. Hey, Pam, if you don't know. This is an example of Zentangle. You can look on YouTube and find all kinds of people doing Zentangle. But it doesn't even have to be like an animal. Most of the time, Zentangle, and I don't go along with all the people that do Zentangle for, you know, Buddhism or Hinduism or whatever religious purpose. I'm not. This is just supposed to be for relaxation. This is something you can do in the car. This is something you can do while you're watching TV. And literally, let me grab a pen and show you on the back of mine kind of what they recommend. And you, like I said, you can go to YouTube and find all kinds of videos on it. I can't really turn it off at all. Let me see if I can back you up a little bit. I'm using just the back of my phone case. I don't know if it'll go any straighter. Maybe I can move back some. Okay. So literally they suggest taking a piece of paper and starting with something, you know, just like maybe a square like this. And mine's more of a fancy square, okay? So, it's not, pretending you're not seeing that, okay? Then, you just start doodling. It's another name for doodling, okay? So, let me see some of the doodles they have on here. Okay, so one thing that I saw Debbie doing was she made, like in one corner, little lines, like double lines, separated by a space, okay? Like this. Then she went back in between the lines and made circles. Hold on a minute and I'll hold it up and show you. I'm trying to get them all in here, okay? Literally, this is supposed to be Zen in that it's relaxing and kind of mindless, but you can turn it into art. Okay, so we have 2 double lines here, 2 double lines here, and 2 double lines here. Then in between, I drew circle. Okay, me too, Pam. I'm a family member too. Now, as Debbie showed yesterday, watch what happens when you darken in. I can't see anything. When you darken in between those circles, how the pattern changes. And I'm just doing a real quick, not professional at all. Well, none of this is professional. This is supposed to just be fun job. But I'm going to show you how it all changes when you fill in between the circles. It looks totally different. And you can buy books. Debbie showed a book in group the other day. You can buy books. You can go on and watch videos. You can just do a Google search of patterns, geometric patterns, you know, anything like that, and get all kinds of things that you could just print off from Google and then just sit and draw them. I mean, worst comes to worst, trace them. Okay, now look. See how that just changed the whole look of it? You could even do things like cross-hatching, where you just draw, you know, your lines one way, and then you draw them the other way. And you could leave it cross-hatched. Hey, Chris. Hey, Jamie. Or you could go in and put dots at all of the intersections of the lines. Or, if you're Debbie Rigg, And some of the rest of us, you could go in and do checks. Okay? And you can just literally, I have known people do Zentangle before where they would sit and they would just do something like this. Just not even look, just start with something. Okay? There's my pattern. And then go back and look at it and go, now how could I change that? I wish I didn't have these numbers written on here, but what can I do to make this look different? Well, another thing you could do is like check marks that really become like zigzag pattern, okay? So you could go in and do this. I could go in and do double lines right here. So let me go back and put yet a second line in each one of these, okay? Like that. Then you're not on replay, sis, Kim, you're live. Then I could go back and I could darken in each one in between, like the upward triangles, I could darken in. Hey, Kathy. So if you'll get like a fine line, Sharpie, or there's some stapler pens that you can get. A lot of times Zen is done just with black and white. You can do it any way you want it because, remember this saying, you're the artist, you're in charge. So it's a way to get your mind off of problems, what's going on around you, what's going on in the world, what you need to do, and just say, you know what, I'm going to take a few minutes and thank you. I'm going to take a few minutes and just Zentangle or doodle in my book. So I'll have some pages in that journal that will be like backgrounds of Zentangle, but then I may leave room around the edge to journal what's going on that day or what was in my mind when I started Zentangling, or, you know, a good quote that I just found that I want to remember. Of course, you can go back and you can add stuff on top of it and layer. Now, if you're doing a journal like this, you may not want to layer much because it's going to be hard to close it, okay? But you could layer some. Like I have these letters that are rub-off letters, so sometimes I may use some of these letters in my book. I have some other ones that are a different font. I may use some of these in my book. These are just like transfers. Now, I have lots and lots of papers. And y'all know that I like to do black and white too. Here's some more. Let me get this over here. Here's some more letters. Right here. These are cutouts. You'd have to cut out and glue them on. I have all of this stuff, y'all. None of this is new except for the book. I had all this from when I was scrapbooking. So look, if I wanted to do like a black and white page, I could do a side-by-side layout, a 2-page one. I could even cut out a picture of my face and put in here. These would be fun to use. I have this black and white paper. All kinds of black and white papers in here. And again, I've had this since my scrapbooking days. I have this black and white. I have this, what's this pattern called? Hey, Peggy. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Look at this. Wouldn't that be fun to cut out some little paper doll things and put on here? Maybe embellish them with stickles. You can use stickles. And then like on top of this, you could put, see these little things came out of a scrapbook, paper book. I could cut one of these out and put it on here somewhere and journal on it. Or I could cut 2 or 3. Thank you for that heart. Lots of things you can do to layer it, but it still be pretty flat. So I have this one. I love these papers because they're so vintage. And I really love a lot of vintage stuff. You could stencil. I brought stencils with me and some stencil paste or paint. So you can stencil, which is still going to be pretty flat. I have lots of stencils. You can do some transfers. I'm thinking about doing the front of my book with some of these transfers. But first I'll have to paint it white and then put a clear coat on it. and then rub some transfers on it. So I'm thinking about using that. I'm not positive. I got to get, again, off center and just start. Hey, Peggy. Love this white paper. Love this white paper. So look at this. Isn't that cool? It's got just a little bit of a texture to it. This is clear. Or what you can do is you can take cardstock, and at Michael's I bought a pack of this cardstock like this. You can get it in white, or this is more of a cream. You can do your design on here and then glue it, cut it down where it needs to be cut down, and glue it in here. Or use parts of this. You could stamp on this. You could stencil on this again. You could cut out neat words that you printed off the internet, or quotes that you wanted to just have something a little bit different than just flat on your page. Now, Debbie showed about using jelly plates somewhere in my art room. Which, do y'all remember when I cleaned that out? Yeah, it didn't stay that way. But somewhere in my art room, I have a jelly plate. If y'all don't know what that is, you need to look it up. I think it's G-E-L-L-I. Basically what it is a thick, not rubber, kind of a rubbery, it's a surface that you can take and pour paint. You can just drops, pour on there, just put all, whatever color paint you want. Take a brayer and just, or a rolling pin, and very gently just kind of roll those colors together. Then you take a piece of this cardstock and you lay it down, and you take your hand and don't rub it because you'll smear the paint. Just kind of press it down, and then if you have another brayer or a rolling pin, you can gently go over it, and when you lift it up, you have a pattern on your paper. But you'll still have this negative side where you just took some paint off of it that you could put another piece of paper on and get a whole different design with the paint that's left over. It's really cool. Now, because I couldn't find my jelly plate, and I wanted to do something like that the other day, and it didn't turn out as pretty as Debbie's, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because I'm going to journal on it, or I'm going to draw a picture on it, or I'm going to glue. Like, look at these little things I've cut out of magazines. So that's what she encouraged us to do, was cut stuff out of magazines. Y'all, I started doing stuff like this years ago when I made what's called an altered book. I have a big altered book, and at home, I literally have a huge box about this wide and about this tall. Hey, Cheryl. That I have file folders in, and I have them labeled animals, plants, people, Christmas, words, vacation. And so again, when I'm in the car, when I'm sitting around watching TV with my husband, I just look through magazines of all kinds, and I cut out letters, words, pictures. And then when I need something, when I needed something for my altered book, hey, Piper, and Bonnie, I would go back and get something out of there and start there. They've been sitting in my art room for years, literally, since I haven't done scrapbooking or any more altered books. So I pulled those out the other night and went through and got rid of stuff I don't think I'll ever use in this journal. And then I started picking up like free magazines, you know, the little pamphlet magazines you can get when you're outside of a store. Pick them up. You may see a word in there you like. I cut out several words out of a magazine, and like this was in a art magazine. It says it takes courage, grow up. It takes courage, grow up, and to become who you really are. And the other side says, wherever you go, go with all your heart. And it looks like two little playing cards. So I could cut them apart. I could use them together. This one I got out of a magazine, and y'all, it says, hey Brenda, it says, the last day of the world as we know it. Number 1, make amends to everyone I've hurt. Number 2, call up loved ones. Number 3, turn off coffee maker. Number 4, tell everyone I love them. Number 5, spend time meditating in nature. Number 6, have a very good bottle of Pinot Gris handy with some yummy olives. Number 7, put my feet in the ocean. Number 8, eat some Jamocha almond fudge cream. And up here on top, don't forget to put on clean underwear. Hey, Cena. And then down at the bottom, she said, I was making a list of things I should do since it was the end of the world and all, and the sound of my mother's voice broke my contemplation. This would be a precious journal page. Tear it, cut it out, or whatever if you want to get rid of the excess. And then maybe journal something that you learned from your mom, or you remember your mom said, or advice from your mom, or how you miss your mom. Just stuff like this, y'all. And then these little things that I had in my scrapbooking stash that you can put on. Thank you for the hearts and the thumbs up. I don't even know where this came from, but this is like a little envelope with some goodness in it. Have these little things. I have this little paper border I could put on a page. Little things like this, lace. This is sparkling rub-ons. Y'all, the sky is the limit. So what I was going to tell you was I couldn't find my jelly plate. So I decided, what if I just got a piece of aluminum foil, laid the aluminum foil out real smooth, even though it's going to have lines in it, creases in it, put paint on there and just rubbed it with my brayer. So I did. It didn't turn out as pretty as Debbie's, but that's okay. I'm not comparing mine to Debbie. So here's one. Of course, you can use any colors, but I could use this whole thing. I could just tear out part of it. Here's another one. Then I took a piece of bubble wrap. Hey, Clara. Hey, Jill. Did the same thing on bubble wrap. Laid my paper down, rubbed my brayer over it. This would be so cool if you're doing something about Easter or spring or, you know, some kind of vacation memory. I don't know. Just the sky is literally the limit. So I'm going to get started. I need to really do my my cover. But when I was talking on here a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about how, you know, some people make New Year's resolutions. Thank you for that heart. I don't do that. I did that for years and to no avail because I never keep them. Especially the losing the weight part. How many times have I said that? Yeah, I like the bubble wrap too. So, and you could even on the bubble wrap, you could get yourself a piece and punch some of them so they're flatter and then leave some of them big. You can rub it over anything. You could do that over sticks. You could do it over leaves. I mean, the sky's the limit, y'all, just to be creative. Anyway, I'm not going to do resolutions, but for the past couple of years, I've done words, like a word. And you know, lots of people do that. That's not original with me. And usually people will choose a word. Well, as I was thinking about my word for the year, I came up with encourage, serve, hey Ellen, and simplify. And then I thought, you know, who says I can't use all of those? I'm in charge of my life. I can choose all of them if I want to. But in each one of those areas, I want to be very intentional. Because if I'm not intentional, and I just, yeah, if I get to it, I will, then it won't get done. Okay? Thank you. So I decided that I could put those words under an umbrella of intentionality. So one thing I'm going to be doing this year is making more of my own paper design. So I purchased a program and I'm starting to work on it. Now this is just on plain paper, which is fine for my journal. So under the umbrella of intentionality are going to be my words. Simplify, encourage, and serve. Okay? Thank you for those hearts. So you can make these as big or as little as you want to when you're printing them. But to have a page in my book, and it'll probably be like one of the first pages, where I can cut out the umbrella, and I'll probably have to cut the size down, or I could make it a 2-page. which I may do because the words are big too. So I want the umbrella, and I'll probably cut off all the rest of this stuff down here, even though it's pretty. I can go back and do watercolor myself. But if I have this like on a 2-page layout, and then I cut out the word serve, it's a raindrop, see? So I may go back and reprint these smaller and just have the 3 words across the bottom. Serve, encourage, and what was my other one? Serve, encourage, simplify. Then I will probably leave space around all those to maybe explain what I plan on. So I could take the word serve, for example, and I could cut it out, and then like I would probably right around the edge just write something in my writing that would say what I mean by this. Like, what do you mean by intentionally serve? How can you do that? And then I'll probably have a page in here where I can, or a page or 2, where I can journal opportunities I had to serve and ways that people served me, just as a memory. So I'm going to get started on it. Unfortunately, I brought nothing with which to adhere anything because I had planned to do these pages while I was here, but now my pages, my designs are probably too big. I probably need to cut them down. So, wait, let me lay this down again. If I put intentionality right up there and I do it, yeah, they're going to be too big still. I mean, if I'm cutting all the rest of this out, cutting off this white, I probably could get them all under there in 3 pages. Yeah, I could. So I don't know. I may leave them big for the wow factor. I may print them lesser. But so anyway, I'm going to start this soon. The other project I brought to do with me is to burn a hat. Okay. So Rodney made me this little thing so that I can ahead of time, and this is just, he just put this up here because he did one with these on it. I'm not going to use these, but I wanted him to measure the brim for me. So this is on a piece actually of rice paper that I had that I can't really use in my printer because it gets caught up. But it's like on probably a 12 by 14, maybe I think 11 by 14, 12 by 16, maybe sheet size. And so he showed me how to measure it, and then he marked it off in four lines where the center was. So I can take this off, and now I can draw my pattern on here like I want to go on my hat. And then I can put this back on, and I can either trace it with a piece of graphite paper underneath it. However, graphite paper is dark. So if you do that, you'll want to do it with not too much pressure, because if you get outside of your lines when you're burning, it'll be real hard to get that graphite off. The last one I did with chalk, white chalk. I just drew it on there with white chalk after I had my pattern on paper that I could kind of see what I wanted to do. So my second hat I brought is the one that I kind of practice on here. So I was just practicing strokes and trying to learn, how much pressure I needed to put on there. I actually made 2 of these. I sold one and my daughter wanted the other one, so I gave it to her. And then I'm probably going to do underneath too. Bye, Jamie. Have a good day. So anyway, I brought this along to practice again because it's been a while since I've done one. But I want to, again, practice and see how hot it needs to be. I think I can control the heat on mine. You can get some that you can control the heat, and then some you can't control the heat. So you have to be very, very careful. And mine comes with several tips. Rodney reminded me, if you get ready to change the tip, either turn it off and let it cool completely, or use like needle nose pliers to unscrew the tip before you put another one on, or you can get a serious, serious burn. I've watched some YouTube videos, and some of them, and I don't know if mine has it or not, but some of them have a little tip that's like for writing letters that's kind of shaped like and I'm not sure mine has that, but it's kind of shaped like this, and it's just a wire, but it's open in the center there. So it's literally like a wire that you could just hold like this and do your script. So I want to burn some. Some of them I want to be able to paint on. So I'm watching some videos about that. I'm also going to do some with foil. Can't wait to do those. I've got to get some foils ordered. So, like I said at the beginning of the year when I did my little state of the page talk, so to speak, hey, Deborah, I am going to start selling things that I want to sell after I make them. Now, I may not finish them on a live, so it may be that I sell them a day or two later. What I plan to do on most of them is to finish them, take a picture of them, put them on my page. I will also put them on the Crafting and Cruising BIN/auction page. Buy it now /auction page. I'll put it on both pages. And I will leave the item up for 24 hours. And I will send a telegram out letting people know it's up there. I'll also post on my page letting people know who aren't on the telegram, but you need to be. That's available for purchase. And on most things, I'll probably just do a flat price, because I will know what I have in the materials and in the time to make it. Some things I may do like a silent auction. So I may leave that up for 48 or 72 hours and say starting bid, $20. And then it goes to the person with the highest bid. Hey, deal. So that's kind of what I'm planning to do. Some things I may love and I may keep myself. So I'm not going to say I'll sell everything. But I will be going on the Crafty Bunch sometimes when she has live sales and trying to sell some of my things I already have done that are sitting on a shelf needing to be sold. But that way, I hope to not stockpile so many of my crafts, because so many of the things that I've done, I don't have room for them, and I would like for somebody to be enjoying them. So sometime I make them on and just do a sale of things from the past and, try to get rid of some things. But hey, Elizabeth, that's kind of my goal, is to try to sell as I go. So I won't promise that I'll finish. Like if I do a hat on a live, I may not get the whole thing finished. But when I do get it finished with a hat band and everything and I'm ready to sell it, then I'll put it on the page and I'll either do a silent auction, not really silent, but an auction on the page. Not a live auction. I'm not going to do those. But for like 48, 72 hours and sell it that way. Or I'll say the price is X amount of dollars. The first person who comments sold is the one that's going to get it. And that way we will all be seeing the same thing on the comment. We won't have to depend on lags or who bid first or who bid the highest or whatever. It'll just say in the comment that we can all see sold. And the first person that comments on there that I'll see that says sold will get the item. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So anyway, you guys, that's all I have planned for today. I really can't do a lot since I have no glue or anything. I may start working on my design for my hat, so I could do that. But other than that, Rodney's working, and then he's got a luncheon with a rep or something. So I'm not sure when he'll be back, but hopefully we'll be able to. My friend gave me some good ideas for places to eat and a couple things that she thinks we need to try to see while we're here. So we've been to Charleston before, but we didn't do, well, we did some sightseeing when we came with our friends, but mostly shopping, which is my favorite thing to do. So anyway, if you haven't started following our page, please give us a follow. If you're not a part of our Telegram, I always communicate through Telegram. Well, not always, sometimes I forget, but most of the time I do. It's a free app. Most creators have it. At the top of my page, there's a pinned link that you can go to and just sign up for my Telegram channel, and then you'll get notification when I'm going live. Y'all, I'm hosting my first ever online event on February 22nd in the Crafty Bunch. So if you haven't joined the Crafty Bunch, please go over there and join it. We're going to be doing an event there. I have some amazing creators that are coming on. Hey, Lisa, sister, and it's going to be a Mardi Gras mask event. I'm super excited. A little nervous because I've never hosted an online event, but super excited. So mark your calendars now. It will go from 8 a.m. Central Time until 9 p.m. Central Time. So please put that on your calendar. I hope y'all have a blessed day. Go out and bless someone. Be blessed. I love you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.